you did raise a question about race. What I was shown about race was, look what word is in, and this is what the villain arc thing is. Okay, I'm gonna call you guys something that I equally use for you to pit one another up against each other in a game where someone else decides when you start, how long you go for, when you stop, and who is the winner or the loser. A race in itself is always a winner or a winning or losing game.
Yeah, it is.
And yet we call ourselves races, like someone isn't going to win and someone isn't going to lose. When we are more than the race that's been set by who? You see what I mean?
We have inherited a very particular story about humanity. 4 races, different continents, different adaptations. But I have been asking myself whether we have accepted the conclusion before we have really examined the starting assumptions. So today, if you are interested in knowing about races, this episode is for you.
Hiya, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Joy. I'm Shamel, artist, author, and intuitive guide. You can call me Shem. And as always, I'm accompanied by...
Omondi, artist, author, and consciousness explorer.
All right. Now, we have been doing this cosmic series for a while now, which is really like, it's always been an interest of yours. With all the shifts happening, we've ramped up a lot on some of the contact that you and I have made personally in our own personal experiences. Today, you're getting into race. It's been a touchy subject along for everybody. Whether, however you are, wherever you're going about your life, how you interact with the idea of it. And last episode, we were touching on a couple of our experiences about that. And I also wanted to cover the fact that it seems that somehow there's always this asking about our identity in relation to our race. Hence why, like, all these DNA places and finding out your lineage and your DNA heritage has been so popular over like the past 6 years, 7 years. It's like been a huge shift in people where it's like, you know what, I do want to know where I come from. I do want to know my lineage. I do want to know this. Where are we with this in connection to race and lineage and this disclosure that's coming up, this whole idea that we are not going to be the only race that we know of anymore? There's going to be so many more races and beings that we are going to start perceiving and being aware of.
I think we've been operating for a long time from assumptions, axioms. So basically, if something's been, say, researched before by the right names, then you can't question any of it. You must start your investigation from that particular reference. So that's not helpful, is it?
It isn't, and my way into this is different to your way into it. You're very scientific minded, logical minded. You want, the research and the backstory, and mine are like more through downloads and synchronicities and all that. And what I've been finding out is, as we've been going through these shifts, there's been a lot of shift in narratives as to the origin stories of a lot of these things. And these are things that I've been shown as well, like through my own experiences about who is who. Mary Magdalene's story, that kind of blew me for a loop. Like, I was just like, okay. And all these stories about some of these people who we call saints or queens or deities that are not what we've been told. That are not what we've been told at all. And I thought the synchronicity here was with the raising of the frequency and the vibrations, with the shifts in consciousness, all of these truths are going to come up,
Yeah.
you know, especially when it comes to tying of the divine feminine and the rebalancing of that in all beings,
Yeah. I see
because
what you mean.
it's not just the narrative, the story, and the female gender or sex that has been going and been subjected to this imbalance. Balance doesn't work like that. If one of us are imbalanced, we're all imbalanced. If one side of the balance is off balance, that's it. You're off tilt.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
That's,
been in both respects. So there's this balancing back that has to happen within all of us.
yeah, I think so. For me, I'll see it as simply not knowing. Yeah, obviously as a result of not knowing, you've got the imbalance. It's simply not knowing because not allowed to questions to
Yeah.
question. To question.
A question being an offense. Like
Yeah, taking this in
it's
offense or
offensive
yeah.
if you ask me a question, especially of curiosity, and then that's what we were talking about on the live the other day, isn't
That's what
it?
we're talking about, and it's like if you ask a question, it's like a red flag. You coming out of the program, so you need to be watched.
Yeah,
And this whole thing that's happening to a lot of people. So life seems easier without you questioning anything at
yeah.
first.
At first,
But then you were referring in how you get a lot of your information through downloads and whatnot. But then for me, it's not so intellectual. Actually, I thought it was for a long time, but I realized that it was as well through downloads. These I couldn't leave it alone, so I needed to know. It's like a calling, like some things that I must search this or I must find out about this or the things pops in my head. I didn't ask any of that, but to just come up and it's like, hey, you might want to check this,
well,
and I keep. So it's also recognizing the different patterns for different people when it comes to the downloads.
well. Either way, when you attract, the attracting, the magnetism is that divine feminine.
Yes, it is.
So as we balance it out in all of us,
Yeah,
a lot of us, a lot of males are going to start getting more in tune with their what they used to be called instincts,
yeah,
intuition, whatever name you want to give it, magnetism coming in, downloads, you attracting that which you want to know.
yes,
So as you feel, as you ask yourself the question, the answers reveal themselves as more balance you get into, and they flow easier to you the more balance you withhold in yourself.
yeah. I mean,
It's
I've,
beautiful.
I feel like we all have different experiences. For instance, today we are questioning the idea behind races, and and we can get more particular because obviously in the black community there's a bit of a huge question of as far as where we're from, and if
Yeah,
someone doesn't identify themselves to the continent, and I'm referring to Africa, then it feels like a betrayal for many of our black culture. 'Cause
yeah.
black has many culture. It is not just one culture. So
And
you
many countries.
many countries exactly. So it feels like wow, you should identify yourself to the continent, to Africa, or at least as your root origin or whatnot. But you had a few challenging experiences in terms of
Yeah,
of actually challenging the status quo, like what we understand as being black and or where we're from and what it is, or can we say we? Is it even correct to say black as we all the same? You get what I'm saying? So I'd love for you to share that experience more in details. I mean, you talk briefly about it, and it was really brief, but there's more to it. So could you take us back to that experience?
well, as you're saying this, I got chills, and immediately it was like there's so many storylines and narratives. So I'm just channeling now, right? There's so many storylines and narratives that are going to be corrected for us as a collective. Not only in who represents our divine feminine, but whether divine feminine has been misrepresented in some of these males.
Mm-hmm.
Even the stories and the motives that we've been given as to why conquerors conquered, or why people became kings, or how they even became leaders, and how they led, and the reasons why they decided that they were going to stay or fight or be anywhere. A lot of these situations were not what we were told they were for. Some of them were for the sake of wanting to explore love and a divine partner and divine partnership. And that transcended race at the time. But the ruling at the time was that race does not mix. So even on a cosmic level, these things were questioned and these rules were rebelled against, and the mixings happened. And as these mixings happened, we inherited that fire, we inherited that narrative, and we inherited that deep-seated shame, regret, anger, and a lot of the things that came to us as a result of those times. It was just one of those things where now the new powers that be, I guess, if that's what you want to call them, saw a storyline that had been played over time and decided to just revamp it. So it's more of a miseducation and a misguided sense of how big this story is, as a reflection of a misguided sense of how big we are as beings.
Okay.
So we think this story is contained to 4 races when it's contained to thousands, millions of races.
Mm-hmm.
We think that we are so small and not powerful when we are infinitely powerful. It's reflected on a micro level, and we're asked now, as we integrate divine feminine and divine masculine, to zoom out and become the observer of the whole.
Did you have an experience? I mean,
Yeah.
that really challenged the framework of this reality as we know. Do you have something that where you were like, okay, this is not what I thought it was, or did you always have the sense that what we are talking about or our understanding about race, it's just not true?
So growing up Baptist Christian, but then with family members who were like Jehovah Witness, 7-day Adventists, like that type of strong like backgrounds as well, Catholic. So that religious background was never not there. Okay. So a lot of my earlier questioning came from what I'd been told as a kid, and that was frowned upon. So I always knew the idea around the identity of what we believe in, or what we believe ourselves to be, or our origin stories to be, was going to be a difficult hill to climb if you had questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for my own self, I thought that I had kind of, because I'd always asked questions about it, sometimes there's the assumption that you because you question something, you haven't fallen victim to any of the, and I don't like even the idea of fallen victim, but you haven't succumbed to all of the trappings of some of the beliefs. That fits better.
Yeah.
My first one that got me was, and I'll take it to religion and then I'll take it to race. So my first one that got me was, I had an out of body experience, and I was just really and truly minded my own business. I was with you. I was in a home. I knew that that space was ours, and we were talking to one another. And because I'd just given birth, maybe the baby was about a year old, and I still hadn't regulated my menstrual cycle. It was all over the place. On the other side, it was this big shift I was going through, and I knew I was going through a shift, and I was being patient with it. But I wanted to know, like, okay, what are we doing here? Yeah.
What did you want to know?
I wanted to know if I wasn't hurt. I wanted to know if my healing process was working. I was questioning, again, here we go, questioning God, right?
Mm.
Excuse me, all powerful. Excuse me, oneness. Are you one or not? Like we always question our God consciousness. Are you listening? Are you one? Are you the one? Are you that powerful?
Are you
Answer.
here?
I roll.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Okay, so it was that. Anyway, so I'm over there and just being extremely human about it, just questioning like, when's it coming and what's going on and am I okay? And I hope I'm not sick. And I was sitting there talking to you about it, and I get a whistle from the window to come outside, and I look, and I go down there, and I don't see anyone there. So I sit on a wall outside of the place, outside of where our home was, and then Yeshua walks up,
Yeshua.
and I'm like, "Hey, I knew who he was. It wasn't from no picture. He doesn't look like a lot of the pictures. It's similar, but it's a little bit like AI. You know, when they catch you, but they don't catch you.
Yeah,
It's a
I
little bit
understand.
like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
which you can expect. And I was just like, I didn't even think you were like, I thought you were a facsimile of some body. And he was like, oh. Either way, I wasn't expecting him. It was the last person I would have personally called in, which is probably why he came in, because I wasn't even checking for it. And then he just said to me, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool." And he was like, "Focus on here, not here." And what he showed me is underneath my root. He showed me the area he did this, and he showed me the area underneath my root chakra. And he
Okay.
said, "Just lower, just here." And he just went like that. And I said, "Right there, just like that?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Thanks." He was like, "No, no worries." And he bopped off. It was just like that. And I was like, why is he so familiar to me? Like I'm chatting to a Bridget. But I was like, it just was. And I was like, wow, this is going to be something. So I went inside. I went back inside into where the home was. And I was like, oh, guess what I learned? There's way more chakras than what we thought there was. Apparently, there's one there. Apparently. And you said, who says who? And I was like, yes, you are. And you were like, oh, check it out. And then I woke up. So, I ran to the internet's like, yo,
To just find out what's
am I
going on.
tripping? Because this don't make no sense. Firstly, I'm not religious like that. So, yes, you are pulling up. Like,
Yeshua.
yeah, I was like, regular dude, right? No trappings, no magical, nothing, whatever. Just regular dude. Ain't trying to be 100% sovereign. Just ain't trying to do too much. And I was like, how am I going? And I was already thinking, how am I going to explain this to you in the morning? Which is what got me to wake up, because I was like, how deep in the roots have I got with this spirituality stuff, with me exploring spirit? Like, what is going on here? But then
Well,
as I
I
look it
mean,
up,
What do you mean? How you gonna explain to me? What do you mean?
I just thought, wow, is this just more religious programming? Because I've been out of the whole religion thing. I've been out of it. So, and I've been questioned it from young, from 5 years old. Like it's always been questions for me, not resistance to the Most High, just resistance to the story and the mandem around them and the book and what's going on and
Do
who
you know?
writ
I
what,
mean,
and some of the storylines
in
never,
in all
you
honesty,
know.
that was never going to be a problem anyway for me because, you know, if I understood one thing about sovereignty, if you want to be sovereign, you got to accept other people's sovereignty. You not accepting other people's sovereignty, it is anti-sovereignty. Not because you're trying limiting people, because your sovereignty now is dependent on whether they are or they're not, which is the opposite of sovereignty in itself. So,
And
okay, so
that's
that's
how
fine.
he was rolling. Like,
You do what you must. So yeah,
hey, hey,
so then you checked it out.
I checked it out, and they were like, yeah, it was whatever I found, whatever came up was like, oh yeah, there's much more than what we're told. We're actually, and that's when I looked into our actual biofield and auras, and even though I'd known about auras, just in relation to the energy field and how big it can get, and on a scientific level, the toroidal field and the biofield of what we are and what we generate and how things unlock in our systems and where these blockages lie on an energetic level. And I was like, okay, that makes all sense. And I was like, great. And I kid you not, I laid down in the morning after that. I did a meditation. I thought about the exact same region, and I just, in my mind's eye, did the exact same hand movement as if I was unlocking something. And by that afternoon, regulation had happened. So I
Okay.
was like,
So
one time that I actually wasn't so-called using his name in vain. I was like, thanks, Jesus. It was like that.
okay. So it's an interesting story, but I'm going to say, however, in
However,
relation to races and what we know as who we are
yeah,
or what we are, where is the relation for you in terms of once you had this experience, you're like, wow, I ain't seeing things the same.
I'm
What's
not
the relation?
seeing things the same because there's always been a fight as to he was a black man and da da da
Okay.
da da. And I was like, look.
Was it to
It
you?
was
Did it appear? Because I'm aware that you can choose how you appear in front of whoever makes sense for somebody. Did it appear as any particular race or very ambiguous? What was it for you?
I think what I'd recognized first was his energy signature.
Okay,
That's what it was for me. Because as I sat on the wall, I put my head up and then he bopped up. So it's like I felt him before he came.
I understand.
And then his appearance was humanoid, but his appearance was just North African.
Okay.
And I say this lightly because North Africans look Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Well,
You see what
so
I'm saying? Some of
so
them do. You see what I'm saying? It's
so does South European,
so, right. So it's like, what are
so
we
Scandinavian.
saying here? And that was the first time I was like, am I hanging on to this race thing for a little bit too long as far as proving or disproving? I thought, I'm not saying nothing to no one because first thing it's going to be like, and he was black, wasn't he? He was black. And I was like, oh my gosh. You don't claim back your power by claiming everybody comes from you for the sake of it. You find out you're many things. It's so bigger than just that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you can appear in different forms
For different people.
for
And that's
different
why I was
people.
like,
So
well, I'm going to zip it because obviously they're going to be like, yeah, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think with that, and again, I had no skin in the game. That for me is the not the fight. It's not my fight. Like, so I had no preconceived ideas as to what he was going to look like.
Yeah. Do you know, it is very funny that you tell that story, and the reason why you're saying this in terms of the debate, if he is black or not, or what is his original race, or probably during his incarnation, I guess that's what they, on Earth, that's what they probably think of.
Yeah,
Was he a black man, or was he an Arab man, or whatnot? But to be fair, it got me thinking about, like, if you say to someone you can get anything you want, and they say anything I want, yeah, anything you want, and they still ask you the question, can I get this? I'll just say anything you want. It's that is this,
it's the
yeah,
genie wishes,
yeah,
isn't it? And the
yeah, and
first
not
thing
knowing
they
what to
ask
do
for
with the information.
is basic bitch shit,
It's
right?
what it's too abundant. It's like,
And
and
and I was
can
aware
I
of
get the
that.
moon? Yeah, anything you
That, and I
want.
was aware of that. And you know what? For months, as I was talking to some of my guides, they were like to me, look, in other contacts I've had, they were like, what will unfold is way further than the mediocrity that you are used to, more further than the human mediocrity that anybody can fathom at the moment.
Yeah, I can see why.
And it's that. You're talking about this, you playing checkers, they're out here playing 3D, 4D chess. It's like we've at some point we've got to move beyond that. And that was my first thing, like, wow. I was like, look how much, and I was like, why this? Why now? And it was like, this is for you to see how much who you can share this information with in your field, who are going to, one, accept it, or two, have an argument with you still about the basicness of it.
Yeah, I think
You see what I mean? It
what
wasn't
it,
you, of course. It
no,
wasn't
I
you.
understand, but
But
I think
I was like, wow, when are we ready to ask these questions and get certain answers, or are we going to fight this out in the comment section?
what I was going to say, I think it's got a lot to see with the ability, once immersed in this experience, the ability to recognize that you are an infinite being, and that ties back to your story about deprogramming the people, going literally through. It's funny, you're going through a program of deprogrammation. It's
Dissimulations.
dissimulations,
Yeah.
as you call it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's necessary. And to me, I equate this to trauma. So you're going through an experience, and now you're so traumatized about it that you can't even if someone tells you it's very easy, you just can't believe that it is easy, and you become very quickly the facilitator into that experience by telling people how they have to follow this ideology,
Yeah.
which is what we call Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah.
because you feel like the only way it makes sense now, because you feel stuck if everybody else does what you do, so,
Well,
or believe what you believe.
as of late, a lot of my angelic lineage has been asking me to reassess my investments. And I, still being here, was like, investments? Like, what investments I've got to check? What account and what account and what, da, 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 thinking that, yeah. And I was quickly shown investments as in, what investments have you made energetically? Are you over invested in your trauma, where you can reallocate those assets, those energy assets, into your peace? And a lot of people are over invested into trauma.
Yeah, and I
And
think
that is what I showed in myself. I was like, I am too heavily invested over here in trauma. Where am I? Could I reassess my investments and place them more into things of freedom and sovereignty and inner peace? Are
Yes,
they more important to me than me holding on to this bag of trauma and
who don't
all of
want good
this,
for you and
all
etc.
of the
Yeah,
things,
I
all of
understand.
the things that
Mm.
look like. And I was just like, whoa. And a lot of the time I meet these beings and that, and I roll my eyes just because I'm like, oh yeah, they don't require for you to worship them. They
Yeah.
do not require worship. They require for you to step up in your sovereign being and see yourself as such, see yourself as equal.
Well, I wanted to dwell a little bit more in the idea of what race is, and also and through the experiences you've been having. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to pose a question to you and tell me how you feel about this. Um, we use race a lot, like how to qualify who is who, whatnot. And do you think that it is an ancient knowledge? The idea of race is like something that's ancient, or do you think it's a modernized way of organizing the population and the game here on Earth? What's your view on that? And related to your experience, what were you able to draw from these experiences that actually can answer that?
A lot of the idea around race is a reflection of a lot of our cosmic lineage and the happenings that has happened between different races there. Those who've been able to live in harmony and those who've been in disharmony. Also, it's a deeper reflection of the word. You are deeply into etymology of words, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So even the word race.
Hmm.
So when I looked into it and I was asking my guides, like, what is it about race? Why I can't tell certain stories to certain people, or why even if I did, they would turn it into some racial trope for them. It's like you'll either talk to someone and they'll be like, "I told you," da, 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 or someone else who's going to be like, "Yep, he was black," and and then take it on some pseudo version of black superiority situation. And I'm like, think bigger.
Do you think that maybe it's why people don't have contact, or some, not people, but some people find it hard to have contact because of the assumptions? I mean, we talked about it
It can
in
be. It could be. All I know is that you better drop them at the door because, boy, when it comes, that will be the reflection as to how much acceptance you have. How much radical acceptance are you willing to have? If you're already looking at it like them and us,
yeah, of course, yeah, that's
you might have a
good.
rough time.
Yeah,
You may have a rough time about this.
but
And
but
you did raise a question about race. What I was shown about race was look what word is in, and this is what the villain arc thing is. Okay, I'm gonna call you guys something that I equally use for you to pit one another up against each other in a game where someone else decides when you start, how long you go for, when you stop, and who is the winner or the loser. A race in itself is always a winner or a winning or losing game.
yeah, it is.
And yet we call ourselves races like someone isn't going to win and someone isn't going to lose. When we are more than the race that's been set by who? You see what I mean? And when they dropped that knowledge on me, I was like, you know what? I think I might keep you lot around. I think I might. this intuition thinks this is useful. It was like that.
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
really is. I
wow,
mean,
word.
that's what it is for. I mean, we came with our intuition for a reason.
Yeah, but highest spells be spitting game if you listen, if you care to, if you're open to it. If you're not, you're not. Your choice.
So let's go back to your experience. Now, I'm not sure what the name is. If they are, they definitely are humanoid. You said
Yeah, the
black.
humanoid look. Yeah.
That contact you had, and you mentioned that before that they kind of like are amused by the idea of race in itself and how the misunderstanding of where we're from, it's funny to them.
When they say, and when you say the word misunderstanding, it's also an understatement, because it's like to understand something is under it, right? To overstand something is over it. So to misunderstand, you're like way off.
Yeah.
They were chuckling at how way off we have been to the enormity of what is.
Right. So then, to bring context to it, can you describe them?
Humanoid, um, what we would consider like a darker brown, medium brown, all the way up to just dark skin brown, not South Sudanese dark skin, but just anywhere in between that. Just, that that hue right there.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And the health is what stood out more than anything. So, black is black, isn't it? You got different tones of brown regardless. But this was the health that stood out. The health. Minimal body fat, lean muscle, but still muscular, but not overly, like you could tell this was just from just pure health. And this sovereignty, like again, this regalness, and we get caught up in regality like it's something to do with royalty, kings and queens, and while it is, it's not, as we've been misunderstood and misled for what it means here. It was very much a rite of passage and a privilege and a huge responsibility. You're looking after sways of millions and thousands of people, and your decision, your ability to discern, your ability to be balanced, your ability to be wise and put that into action with souls who are sovereign and who could say no at any time. So they see you coming. The idea that you will lie to anybody is like not even a thing. It's beyond the things we know here. It's beyond the way we've lived for what we think is centuries. It's beyond every narrative we've been sold, told, or programmed to. It's beyond that. So that's another part of why the difficulty will be in trying to even get their heads around it, because even if you say this, it's still misunderstood. The enormity of it is misunderstood.
How about
And inclusion.
how about their hair?
Their hair was very short. Even the women, they have like shortcut fades,
Right.
beautiful shortcut fades, and they have curly, kinky hair. Thick, curly, kinky hair, 100% health. And for all of them, I never saw any of the ones that I'd met with light brown. It was always dark for these particular people, and they were from a place of purple hue. And there'd been 4 times that I'd actually gone with them to where they are, because I wanted to know, okay, what was that about? So the second time now, I was just lying in bed, and I thought, oh, maybe it'll be nice if I have it out of body, but I'm not fussed. Like, I go to sleep, I have a dream, boom. And then I heard someone saying, oh, sister. And I turned around, and already I was stood up and someone was there in the room with me. I didn't look around to have a look at my body or anything like that. I was locked in because I recognized the voice. And it was a guy who stood there, and I said, "Can I touch your face?" Because I wanted to know, like, don't piss around now. I want to know. And I looked at him, and this one was different because he seemed to be a mix. And he was a little bit, he was your skin tone color. And I said, "Can I touch your face?" And he was like, "Come on, get over and done with, because I got stuff to say to you." And as I touched his face and turned his face, I touched all hair. He had like he'd shaven, but I felt every follicle of his skin. He had thick curly hair, but he'd had it where he'd had worn the curls up to here and shaved the bottom bits. It was a fade, and then the curls cascaded. And I was like, "Wow, you're real, you're here." He was like, "Yes, I'm here. Look." And then he was like, "Are you ready to go now?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And then I was like, "Oh no." And I felt myself falling asleep and getting sleepy. I was like, "Oh no." And he was like, and my last look at him was like,
Wasting time touching my
wasting
face.
time.
Valuable second.
But I was so excited, and I was like, I knew it was because of the excitement. I was like, okay, I'm not tripping, right? So then the time after that, I know that I'd asked, okay, whenever that can happen again, that would be cool. But this time I'd just appeared at the place, and the architecture was what people would call ancient architecture, or neoclassic architecture, what people would call ancient Greek. But it just there were no Greeks. Everybody was different hues of brown. And that's when it was explained to me, like, you're all different hues of brown. It's either you're a lighter hue of brown or a darker hue of brown. White is white, and that's totally different. You are basic when it comes to the color. This is the thing. We are only seeing this color spectrum based on our sight here. When you see with different eyes, you're going to get different races because now you can actually see them.
Yeah, of course.
And then you won't be so simplified and basic when it comes to you categorizing that which is vast.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about that as well. Different colors and
So I sat with, this time it was a woman, and I sat with her, and I knew that she explained to me, yeah, one of your, I'm one of your guides. Like, I'm a friend. Like, she was an old friend I was chatting to from, very slim, very, like, they don't have bad posture. That's a thing here. They just don't have it. Like, I don't know. It's just not a thing. Everything that's a thing here is just not a thing. And I discovered that even in my instance as what people would say is a white person here. She was blonde, but they didn't even consider themselves white because even racism wasn't a thing. It's just not a thing. It's so basic. And it's a hard switch that people are going to have to make because we've been programmed so deeply into it, and it's affected every single one of us here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to talk about the programming and different things. I'll give you my observation in a minute, but yeah. So, what was these all interactions about?
She was talking to me about the process of what it is to be here and live in your fullness, and not have your narratives be framed by stories of the past that are told by people who know nothing of it, or people of the past who know everything of it but hide that which is real. And I said, okay. She was like, so throw everything out. I said, everything. And she was like, everything. And I was like, that's a lot. And I said, watch me. Even marriage. Because it's like that was my one thing. Like, don't come for marriage. Don't come for union. And she was like, marriage is such a basic reflection of divine union.
You know that this reminds me of the idea of logic, and how Octarians sees logic as being such an inferior way of processing concepts.
It was that conversation she's
Yeah,
having with me.
yeah, I
And
understand.
as we're sitting there, I'm looking around and we're at this, I can only call it like a park. There were trees there, and it's not even trees, like there was plant life there, but there was this beautiful like lake, but it was made so, but it was architectured so beautiful, like an infinity pool. And I was like, whoever brought the infinity pool here came here, because this is where they got the idea from. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you see this in love movies where clearly it's channeling,
I'm like,
and you
clearly
got the
you
ideas
channeled
from
this idea,
somewhere else. Yeah,
because that was what their
yeah.
regular lake, like in a park, if they wanted to do like a pond or a lake, looked like. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And she just sat there and she was just talking to me about life, and just talking to me about different things, adorning yourself, beauty. She was talking to me about health. She was talking to me about science. She was talking to me about architecture, all these different things. And I was like, wait, when will I see you? She goes, you'll always hear me. Like, whenever you need, you'll hear me, and I'll come through. And I was like, are we friends? And she was like, oh wow, like, you don't even remember me. I was like, you feel familiar. And she goes, well, then go with your feelings. That will guide you. Go with your inner knowing. Go inside your God consciousness. And she didn't even call it God consciousness. She used another term that I can't even fathom, because the concept of it isn't even here yet. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. So basically, you had these interactions. That's from the same group of people,
Yeah.
and they are looking, I guess, black.
Mm-hmm.
What we would sorry qualify as being a black race, right?
Yep, for the most part. Very high technology place, by the way. Everything was intuitive. It's past interactive.
Okay,
It's
but
past interactive. It
still
was
very
intuitive.
deeply connected spiritually.
It was the oneness of it all. It was the intertwining of it all,
I understand.
that didn't require for you to spend yourself in any way, but still replenished you.
I get it. So
Yeah.
so once you had this interaction, what changed for you?
It wasn't anything that changed. It was more of a settling inside of myself. I always knew that the ideas around colorism was basic bitch behavior, and I always knew that the ideas are, I have nothing else to say on it than that. I have no other description. And the ideas around racism was the same, just basic bitch behavior, basic bitch programming. It's just like, come on now,
So
come on, so okey doke.
so I guess it felt like vindication.
It did feel like vindication, but it felt like inner peace and inner settling. Like, I haven't got to fight anyone about this. I know. It was
Okay.
a knowing that came over me. And in that knowing, it brought a lot of peace, because I was like, yeah.
So what surprised me is the fact that you no, I'm not surprised because I know that a lot of these experiences happen when you expect it the least, but you were not really searching for it.
No, because as I said, I'd had that interaction with who was saying sister to me. And I was like, well, if anything, I'll see you again, innit?
Yeah, I understand what you're
But
saying. Yeah.
then I'm already at this place and I'm talking to somebody who's a familiar energy, but I'm like, what's going on? Like, and then we're in this deep conversation. And as we're doing it, there's like 3 or 4 guys over there who are waiting for me to go back, home here. And I recognize them from the first meeting with the ship. So I'm
Oh, okay.
like, oh, but they were waiting happily.
Okay.
So as I spoke to her, and as I was looking around, and it was it was a beautiful place. It was peaceful. There was this, when you get into homesteading and you start knowing about permaculture, it was that there was this symbiosis between the living stuff there.
So
This micro, this it just worked. The
yeah, like a
whole place.
symbiotic.
Yeah, this place just
Yeah,
worked.
yeah,
Like this
like an
microclimate of just,
harmonious
yeah, of
way.
harmony.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so these are all these are experiences that you had where you were in contact with what we would say like black people.
Yeah.
But however, when you had that contact, did you feel like, oh, I found my people? These like, like someone would maybe feel like, okay, these are black people, they came for me, and did you have any of this understanding, or you had a great understanding as far as this is this is not about race, it's about star family and reuniting
It was
with the
more
true
of,
origin.
yeah, it was beyond that. It would have been beneath me to bring that up.
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm asking you this question for the sake of a sample question someone may want to know as they discover this concept. Because it's still, I'm well aware that we talk about these things. For some people, it's a concept. It's
I
very
get it. I
conceptual.
get it.
We know better, but at the time, because that happened a while ago, what frame of mind were you? Were you still under the impression that races were a thing, or for you, you already decided that now, you know what, it doesn't really exist in the way we're trying to describe it? Were you already at that stage for you?
Yeah.
And would you say that's probably why you had the contact?
Probably. But then equally, what I will go even further to say, the one that really got me was the fact that when I found out, like, what changed my mind, my logical mind here about my limitations, about how many children we would have.
How is that?
I had always been told by a lot of people here in my own family that, you have 2 kids and then you can afford to look after them, and then that's the responsible thing to do, and don't have kids you can't afford, and that's responsible, and that and it never really sat right, because even as a kid I would tell my grandma, yeah, you had 2 girls, 2 boys, I want that. Just as a kid, like, not fathoming anything to do with finance, just. And like I said, this is me being quite a tomboy and not really being a girly girl and swooning over every baby I see. I just knew that that was something that I thought was lovely.
So why did you
What
like,
changed?
what changed like in relation to your
Because
contact?
when I saw the original framework as to what changed my mind, it was when I had the instance as a blonde woman. And I was blonde hair, blue eyes. I saw my skin, I saw my reflection, but in me, my divine partner was what we would call an Indian guy, somebody who looks like they're from India, the equivalent of what we would call Indian here. That was what he appeared to be from. Not that he was, not that she was.
So
But
It's
this was
not.
a totally different planet, because even how things were, they just weren't the same. You saw that we had that.
So let me understand. So
Yeah,
it's not this particular experience with this black being. And by the way, what's the name? Did you have any name?
I didn't get any names. I didn't ask any names.
Okay.
I was just too busy enthralled in the conversation.
Okay, I understand. And so basically, it is not this sole experience. It's a group of
It's
experience.
a group of them, and
Yeah.
and that was the first time I was like, I knew what it felt like to be in a place where race was not a thing. I was like, and this wasn't any, they never had a history there of any supremacy of any race.
I get it.
There, the difference was there was the people in authority and the people who weren't in authority. And that was the only divider.
Okay, so
But
that
it wasn't race.
okay, so
And the love of my life, and there the whole point is to come for a loving experience, find your divine partner and be with that person. There is no back and forth. There's none of this la-di-da business we've got going on. That's what they do on that place there, that whole instance there. And that never came up. And to feel what that feels like energetically, like in your system, like to never ever, because you know me, like even with you, when I was telling you, like, babes, we have to go in the shop with a basket. Can't just be walking in the shop and putting your things in your bag and then coming up to the checkout. You need a basket. Like, you need to show people you're not stealing. And you were like, what?
no, I don't care about that. See, that's your problem. You've got a shop
Yeah. But I was, that was the life. That's London. That's London.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was my upbringing. That was my knowing of how it is to be a black girl in London.
So okay, I was going to ask you then. So that experience,
It changed
in,
me
in particular,
energetically. It changed my nervous system because I knew what it felt like to be at that level of peace.
I
And I
understand.
experienced it through people who were not black. So then by the time, so by the time I met these black people, they told me these things, I was ready to receive it.
So this was the actual pod experience
Yeah.
or you covered.
Yeah.
Okay, and this was a catalyst.
It was.
Asking what was the catalyst, so that was a catalyst
That
as
was
well
the catalyst,
in
which
the
was,
understanding. So it wasn't necessarily being in contact with black people or black beings from another place. It was a group of experiences that got you reassessed your identity
yeah, or what we think identity is.
or what we think identity is. Yeah, yeah, I understand.
And we're conditioned to think small so that we can accept the biggest lie,
Well,
which is how this junk DNA lie,
yeah.
which would unlock a lot more.
Well, I'd like to cover something about these so-called lies.
Okay,
So
go
we're
for
going
it.
to talk about melanin, and I want to know your opinion about that. So I'm going to read you some things, okay?
Yeah.
Or you guys something, everybody. Since then, I have started looking at melanin, believe it or not, from a completely different perspective. We often hear one explanation that it's primarily an adaptation to Earth's environment. But is that explanation complete? Or have we perhaps mistaken one function for its entire origin? Could melanin have multiple roles that we are only beginning to understand? If biology carries history, could pigmentation also carry history? And I'm going to clarify why I wanted to read this is because when we talk about the galactic history, so beings from Sirius A or Sirius B often comes across as being blue or a very deep blue hue. But we also know that the star system they are under there, it's I think it's one star is very bluish white light, and perhaps after a genetic modification here on Earth, as we talked before, Earth being the laboratory planet. So could it be possible that what we perceive as being black in color, and I mean black, not black, but deep brown, black race, basically, or black races, it's only basically a natural mutations, but the true origin, it's a deep blue hue. Hence why we have this saying, often we say when someone is very, very dark, they are so dark, they like navy blue.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really a saying, but it's something we
Yeah,
refer
we
to a
know
lot.
what black till your
Yeah.
blue is.
That's
It's the
till you
blue
blue,
black
yeah.
that
So
yeah.
So, from your experiences, have you ever had an explanation in terms of what pigmentation is?
Once you see beings who are blue and beings who are also pink and beings who are also orange, you kind of throw the whole
Rule book out of the window, isn't it?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
So anything's possible because we often hear, melanin. How do you say it again? Let me try and pronounce it right. Melaninated.
Melanated.
Melanated. I'm trying here in this English street.
Babes, you are
Melanated.
in a whole you are in on a whole podcast in your second language.
Right. But
you are on fire right now.
So the point I'm trying to make is this: is we see these people has been more protected from the sun. We get into this conversation about how you have to protect yourself from the sun if you're fair skin or fairer skin or pale skin, right?
These are a lot of axioms now.
There's a lot of axioms around this.
Which is when she said to me, you have to let go of everything. And I was like, everything? She was like, everything. It was like, ready yourself, or you'll just be readied, or the storyline will ready you. It's what is A. Are you gonna or not? Because either way.
I mean, you bring in perspective by saying that you saw different beings from different color, even pink. So in terms of what we call melanin, we're only referring we are referring ourselves to something being darker in pigmentation, right? We're not actually, how would we even talk about it if it was pink?
That's the thing as well. Exactly.
Or dark pink, are you more do you have more melanin?
It was and I touched the skin, so I wanted to check, like, Shem here on this earthly experience, Shem, the earthly programming, the old programming wanted to still check. Am I seeing skin here? Like, is this even, what is this? Is it coming off? Is it a paint? Like, what is this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've become those people who see black people for the first time
want to touch the hair.
Touch their hair.
Gosh. That's how you've been doing, going around the astral and touching everybody's skins and hair. Can I touch your skin?
I was like, I got to hold my corner. I got to settle myself.
But then let's talk about this. This is great. These are all experiences that are important because perhaps now you can withdraw judgment when people ask to touch your hair or your skin. You don't take it so personally.
And I do.
Because you understand where it may be coming from.
And I do.
Not to say that you have to let them do so, because I understand boundaries and energetic boundaries.
But the offense is no longer there.
Yeah. So I think these experiences can also help you come out of judgment, because the way you've explained how you were surprised, and I guess the difference between racism or being racist is you're shocked by what you see, but you choose to be scared about it, as opposed to be shocked or surprised. Or
I think also because needing someone to blame, because you're still putting yourself as a victim, so you need someone to be the villain in your story.
That's true, but is it perhaps because someone choose to succumb to fear?
Either which way,
Ultimately,
you need a villain in for your storyline to hold up. So you make that happen
so
instead of being solution orientated and stepping into your own sovereignty, your own power, and hearing, knowing a lie when you hear one.
yeah,
And we've sometimes the biggest liars are ourselves to ourselves,
yeah, that's true.
because it feels better to be able, easier to be able to blame somebody than it does for you to do something about it all by yourself.
That's very true.
Because you're like, why should I? They should do it for me. Oh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's true. It's
do it
definitely
for
true.
you
Yeah.
for what? For free? What? Like in slavery? Are we? Oh, we're
But
back
are
here
we
again.
there though? Even down to content creating, the idea that everything, it's not even the idea that everything is free. Most of the things end up to be free, distributed for free. But it's like if you've ever asked for something else you're doing, payment in return is often a friction. The understanding of that is very
These are all the things we're asked to relinquish. Because another thing is that the idea around what money is here, it doesn't. It's not really a thing over there. I remember going and getting soup, sitting down and getting soup. That's how I'd met my divine partner on another instance that I'd gone through. And the idea around money wasn't even the same. I couldn't even understand the concept and bring it back here to even explain it to you. But it just wasn't a thing.
I understand. I never had any experiences on the other side where money mattered or where I had to even talk about money in any ways. It never existed.
And this is the difference between me also getting a feel about whether or not my experiences are happening at a time now or at a time where it's an incarnation or not even incarnation, an instance where I was having a past life experience. Because all all of my past life experiences, or alternative experiences, the one thing that has let me know, okay, this is a thing, is all of them have had in common issue around money, whether or it was they were wealthy but, or they were poor but, or money was an issue but that was an issue and it was an issue for someone else. You feel it in it. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. When you go through this paradigm here and you have to live under the governed mind of scarcity and this economy as we know it, and how we've been told about what finances are and the idea of money as we know it here, it affects your nervous system one way or another.
I think so. And I think everything stems from the same place, the identity. And the reason why we are covering races, let's face it, and not any races at the moment, because we could extrapolate on other races, but we're talking about black because it's the subject of so much pain and so much turmoil
Yeah.
and questions unanswered really. So
I'm gonna just stop you there though. And I get it. And I'm not contradicting what you're saying.
even
But
if you do, you can.
no, I'm not, because it is. Because there's so many narratives that are untrue here.
Mhm.
And I know in my being what it is to be lied on,
Yeah, I'm
to be
referring.
lied about. So when that is, but then I also know why I've had this instance happen to me, so that because it's a lineage thing.
Yes, that's
It is a lineage of being lied upon,
yeah,
of being told the lie and having to embody what being part of it is,
yeah.
and then operating in the lie.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the line itself because we referring of the end result of that. It's pain.
Yeah.
That's the
Confusion and
confusion
pain,
and pain. Yeah,
confusion and pain and trauma.
and
And
trauma. Yeah.
then whether or not you want to And then letting it go becomes a thing where it's like, if I let it go, then the story doesn't exist anymore. And if I let go this pain, then it's me forgiving other people for what I've gone through. And it's this whole thing. And it was so perfectly written for us to come here as true alchemists and remember and transmute all of this.
Well, having the for the sake of having the genuine experience. I mean, we here. I wanted to have this conversation anyway. Share for you to share your experiences because they're very relevant in terms of racism, how you've seen yourself in these different instances. But one thing is for sure, the breaking down of this current paradigm and these so-called templates that have been made, because even the idea behind the human template, the original template, and what happened, and this experiment that took place,
Yeah.
And are we all involved in it in terms of being the descendant of these people that have been modified, or is there because we talk often about the reset in the 1800s, or are we the same people? You see what I mean? So all of these possibilities, we have to open the dialogue and start talking about this. So this kind of brings me to talk with you about the ancient population that we had here. So we're talking about from the Aboriginal people of Australia. So I'm going to read something because they're not the only one, talking also about the Kanak, etc. So something else that keeps drawing my attention is that there are ancient people scattered across the world who share certain physical characteristics while living thousands of miles apart. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia, which I was mentioning, the people of Papua New Guinea, the Kanak of New Caledonia, communities across the Solomon Islands, parts of Melanesia, talking about melanin, each has its own unique history and identity, yet many traditions speak of very ancient origins. When you look at those cultures, what stands out to you?
They're not cookie cutter, and most modern versions of those races have cut them out one way or another. And if you really want to go into the idea, and this is why I thought colorism was always bullshit, of who's black and who's not, and who's black enough, and then you get to see some of these people, and you're like, we're not the same, are we? And I know we do this one drop rule, and you can.
Another question for you: are they black?
I think that's the thing. I'm told that this is not to ask that question is to miss the point, because you're not feeling into it.
But in
Why
all
are they such a
fairness,
phenomenon to you?
but hold on, in all fairness, though, I understand exactly what you're saying. But in all fairness, if we put ourselves in a frame of mind that many of black people are at the moment not knowing this knowledge, their appearance, is it black or not?
What I've know is that through pattern recognition, I've seen people who look like one another who are all from different races. Like, I've seen
That is very true.
Asian versions of people I know. I have seen Caucasian versions of people I know. I've seen Indian versions of people I know. I've seen black versions of people I know. And I've been like, wow, you're like the black version of blah, blah, blah I know. And I've been like, are we looking at the wrong pattern here?
Well, let's talk about this for a minute. It's a very interesting subject, and the reason why, because it does, it is related to your own experience as well,
Mm,
what you had. If you look at them in terms of how dark the skin is,
mm,
and sometimes even the hair feature can be
mm-hmm,
afro. If
mm-hmm,
you go in as we say in French, Nouvelle Calédonie, the Kanak,
mm-hmm.
they look like black people
Only in the fact
with
that they're
different
melanated,
features.
right?
They've got afro hair. Some they got locks,
Well, then that's the thing, Afro as well.
but let's talk for a minute about it.
Curls?
And it's very
Because
interesting.
then I've seen Asian people with more curly hair than me, more kinky hair than
That
me. I'll
that,
be
that
like,
is
ooh,
that is true. But then again, you go to the Solomon Island where they are very dark skinned, but they have blonde hair, afro blonde hair as well, or sometimes big curls. So it's very various, but it's very varied. I mean, but what I'm saying is, if we consider that they are black in appearance,
yeah,
but yet during the modern history, we're saying, well, they are one of the ancient civilization. I think they're saying 50,000 years ago or something like that. Very, very ancient civilization.
mm,
The migration, they date by the migration, maybe 20,000, 50,000 years ago or more. I am not saying it's true. I'm just saying that
mm.
based on the old paradigm, then this raises the question of what being black is in the first place. And then if they are not black, what race are they? They sure are not Caucasian, not Asian.
That's
They're
what
not
I'm
Arab.
saying. We're one thing that has been one thing I know now is that we've been limited in the way that we are thought to process what is this thing we call color. And once you, for those who lucid dream or do have out of body experience, the first thing that does hit you is the complexity of color.
Yeah,
Even for those who go into deep meditation and you see what you see, third eye open, you know, the color spectrum is way more than what we experience in our so-called waking life.
yeah.
So, of course, our idea around color would be limited.
But then it is worth to mention that there's a big question mark here. And if there is a big question mark, how can we just say, well, we black and that is it? We know really idea of how this ties to other people that by appearance can look like us, but are not
All of these,
remotely the same.
all of these names we give are also what I was asked to relinquish. Because
Yeah, I can see why.
where do the origins of your even your languages come? Who writ them? Who told you to speak like this? Who even said that this was a thing? This was the correct word to use. This you're beyond words. So who writ that to say that that was your label?
Exactly another axiom that we're using, and you won't allow yourself to question because you're like, what if I say that I might sound crazy
We're
or not.
disallowing our own knowledge expansion at that point.
Well, now with what they call modern technology, and I don't like this term, but I'm going to use it for the sake of being understood. So many people around the world, they've done the DNA test, right, to
Yeah,
find out where they're actually from,
yeah.
and something surprising happened to some people. So I'm talking
I
about,
do love watching those videos.
yeah, it's very interesting,
I
right?
love them. I love
So
them.
few people from I think South Sudan did the test, and they from one of the tribe and two of the tribe, the Dinka, they're known as being the tallest people on earth,
Yeah.
and Mundari from South Sudan. And I'm sure you guys saw before a couple of documentaries on these people. So the skin color, let's talk about this. It is like
Yeah.
almost a blue hue.
Yeah.
They've
Flawless complexions.
flawless complexion and they're very, very tall. So turns out that when they had their result, they had basically in the DNA a percentage of Scandinavian DNA, which is the absolute opposite of that. The only things they have in common is what? Really? Between Scandinavian people and these people.
Height.
There you go. Height. They're known to be tall, quite tall.
And you know, we were in the shop
So,
the other day.
yeah.
We were just like in the hardware store, yeah?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
people call hardware store. We were in B&Q. And we were walking around and we asked the guy, one of the guys there, for help.
I remember that. Yeah.
And
yeah,
he
yeah.
was like, "God blimey, you're flipping tall, aren't you?"
Yeah, he pretty much,
And he goes, "What are you, like Vikings?"
he was pretty much shocked.
He went straight there, like, past colour. Are you Vikings? Straight faced. And straight faced back without missing a beat. Yeah, I've been to Valhalla. And he just accepted it, and
And I was like, what? That explains
we
everything.
moved on. And he was like, "Yeah, I know. I can see it." And we just moved on. Those conversations are going to get extremely more frequent.
I mean, how do you explain this? I mean, really? I mean, how can those people have DNAs from Scandinavia? How is this even possible?
When you're told your DNA, most of your DNA are junk DNA
Right.
without having looking at it. It's like if you give me a computer and then I'm seeing in the corner my bin is full and I'm like, why is my bin full? Oh, no, that's just some rubbish. I'm still to check what it is before I press
Did it?
delete, right?
Because you can't get it back.
Because at this point, but then, there's always something in the bin that you put there that the bin won't delete.
That is true, but
And that's what we're dealing with right now as humanity.
but
That thing that they tell you there's junk that can't quite delete out that bin. Can we go and do a little restore here? Are we in charge of our own restoration?
what you say actually reminded me of wisdom teeth. Like, oh, that's useless. Take it out.
Oh God, don't even.
And
Don't even.
what, tonsils as well?
Tonsils.
Tonsils.
Take them out.
Yeah.
Take them out. Appendix. Don't worry about
All
it.
of this
Take it
stuff.
out.
So yeah.
There's a gang of things. Don't worry about it. Take it out.
So it's interesting to see that we don't know everything, and it's not to say we don't know everything, so don't question too much. Nothing like that. Meaning that when you begin to allow yourself to question things, you realize that a lot of things can't be answered. They can't be answered not because we don't have the ability to have an answer, but just because of the sheer limitation and what we are allowing ourselves to questions and or maybe compare certain things. Is like I always wondered, yeah, but we're saying we're the only black people in Africa, but I'm seeing these people, they're as black as us. So riddle me this. What's going on? Like I always wonder. And why would we call ourselves black when they don't? So that was always very strange for me. But yeah, I wanted to actually read one more things as well. So one thing I noticed is that many of these cultures also preserve remarkably old cosmologies, knowledge of the stars. So creation, stories, and relationships with the land that seems to stretch back immense periods of time. So do you think ancient memory can survive through culture, even when history itself has been forgotten?
Culture, no. Traditions, yeah. Stories, yeah. Do we allow ourselves the same stories, or do we allow ourselves the same childlike wonder when it comes to listening to stories from others,
Yeah.
remembering them? I remember as a kid the story of Anansi. It was this, if you're Caribbean and you grew up, you know the story of Anansi, right? So even as you get older, you are willing to sit down and remember them or know them as a story that's told. And then if you look deep enough, there's a wisdom in those stories that's held that go beyond your appearance, that go beyond your appearance, that go beyond your form here.
Yes.
They're formless. The wisdom is formless. It transcends any of that. And then we trade them off for being grown up and saying that we are adults now, and every narrative that we're fed has to have a form that we can see ourselves in, and a culture that we have to see ourselves in, not a wisdom and a thread of childlike wonder to ask the questions that maybe life asks us, and a place that we can find answer, but in the formlessness of a story, just a simple story being told. And what I find is a lot of those cultures still hold, or a lot of the not cultures, and that's the thing. I feel like culture is also, and this is something I heard from a wordsmith once, that the difference between culture and cult is the size. And it stuck with me because if you are to talk to some of these people from any of these tribes, and even the word tribe, they don't talk about it as in this is our culture. It's like tradition, or this is our people. That we say culture, but then now culture has become fluid. It's become trend. But with that trend, the traditions of the storytelling get washed away, and the narratives can change. And then that's where we lose the wisdom. And I feel that's where they get to keep theirs, because they've kept the tradition of being able to sit no matter what age and listen to somebody else who knows a story, tell a formless story of a wisdom that could be passed down.
Okay. Yeah, it's beautifully said what you said. And it does answer a lot because
Higher self tapped in.
I see. No, you said it very well. I mean, the reason why I wanted to ask this question in the first place, just going to explain the backstory, is because one day you and I were talking about teeth and trying to not get fluoride in toothpaste, and we didn't like the idea that it was in every toothpaste, and so sodium flow sodium so
All the
whatever the
shite
name,
they put in
whatever
there.
they put, don't quote me on that, but something around these names, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, but there's some things that I can't explain. How these people, they don't brush their teeth like we do, right? And we are saying, well, that's how you keep nice teeth and so on and whatnot, but they've got immaculately white teeth. And guys, if you haven't seen the Dinka or the Mundari people, go watch a documentary. Just look at how they are, and their skin, flawless skin. Now, they do things for it that I might not be prepared to do. So they actually burn calves' feces, if I get it right, and take the ashes and then put it on the skin to protect themselves from all sorts of things, right? But somehow it works for them. Now, I'm not saying that's what we have to do, but there's clearly a knowledge here that we don't have, because for everything we do, somewhat we are struggling and have to put so much product in our toothpaste, and just so we can maintain
And they use a
beautiful
part of, I
teeth
think it's a tree or a tree root. There's or a
that they
twig
chew
from
on.
somewhere that
Yeah.
they chew on.
So in terms of knowledge, and I can see the precarity aspect that we may see from the way of living, which, to be honest, from someone from the West, it looks very uncomfortable. I don't judge it. I'm just saying that there's no catch or thing like that. Okay.
We're
So
seeing precarity, but we're told that that level of freedom is precarity.
that's right. But
But
what
we
shows
feel enslaved and they feel free.
free, and what shows to me is the fact that perhaps the body is able to sustain that much precarity, so to speak, well, as we saw it, because they're more healthy than us, because they're more resistant than us, because they've reached a level of enlightenment through grounding, through different things. And I don't even know if they're asking ourselves all these awakening questions
They
that we
don't.
ask
They're just
ourselves,
living their best
right?
life.
And do they see themselves as black?
I don't think that
I
that's
don't
the
think
thing.
that
I
question
think they're
even.
beyond that.
Why?
And that's the thing I was asked to shift in my nervous system. And I'm glad I got to, because for so long I wore it. And
Yeah.
it is a worry, and it is a stress, and it is a form of dis-ease in your body
Yeah.
to constantly be aware of that. And I think that's why a lot of African Americans now are going, or blacks over here, black Europeans are going over to places where they're not asked about who they are via the lens of what their skin tone is.
Yeah. I get it. Why? I get why.
Just to be able to settle that nervous system enough to be able to think, breathe, feel.
Yeah, I definitely get why. So you can have that peace,
Peace.
that level of peace. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine the level of peace when we expand into the knowing of who we are on a cosmic level, galactic level,
Yeah. I mean, I really,
or on
absolutely,
beyond that.
absolutely, because I think it's time
Yeah.
we put it to rest. There's a lot of questions about who we are as black people. We are many. I think we are many. We're not just one thing. We are many. The same way white people are many. You take the what people will identify people from the North Europe, Scandinavian country being close to the Nordics or Pleiadians. There's many denomination, many looking Pleiadians. There's not just one looking one that it's not just blue eyes and blonde. It's many different ones. So this idea that it's only one is very limited idea. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we covered it as much as we can in terms of what race are,
Please
if there are
share. Yeah.
anything. Yeah,
Please share your thoughts, your own experiences, if you've had any contact experiences that have brought you this ease in your nervous system around the idea of race, or expanded your knowing about that, and how that's helped you move forward. Or if you've had just that knowing and followed your intuition when it comes to moving geolocation so that you can settle that in your nervous system, and how you've navigated that. And that doesn't just go for whether or not you are black or brown or whatever you consider the black race. It goes across all races, because there does come a day where you ask yourself, what is all of this about? Especially when you see yourself beyond the form that you hold here, or you remember lifetimes and instances where you do not have the same appearance. And I say that to say there isn't a race that we call race here that I haven't had an instance as.
yeah,
When I looked into my soul records or Akashic records, whatever you want to look at it, and they've come, and I've had those memories come to me. So yeah, it settles yourself. You settle yourself.
yeah.
So until next time, thank you, and much love. Ciao.
Ciao.